Welcome back, everyone. Are you ready for some Napoleonic Wars? I sure am. Real quick update on my life, guys. I've been absent like the last 5 or 6 days. I just welcomed my newborn son into the world. Appreciate you guys' patience. We are back. The videos are continuing. I thought about doing like a one-off video, but let's just continue with Napoleon. I'm excited to kind of like finish up this series, not just get done with it, but to really just connect all the ending pieces. So if you like Napoleon and you're new here, well, if you like history and you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we got a lot to cover. Today we got the Battle of Wagram, 1809. It's gonna be a little bit for me to catch up what happened, but I'm sure that the context of this video is going to give us all the context we need. Let's jump into it. Not a second to waste. Lego.
History March collaboration. In May 1809, the Austrians had defeated Napoleon's army in the bloody Battle of Aspern. His enemies took heart. After years of French military dominance, it seemed the tide was turning at last. 3 weeks later, Pope Pius...
These graphics are crazy, and there's like a battle of Catholicism versus like atheism, with Napoleon versus the Pope, since like the Revolution. Not just Napoleon, but really France has kind of like isolated themselves from the Catholic Church.
The Seventh excommunicated Napoleon for annexing papal land. Another propaganda coup for his enemies. But in the wake of its victory, Austria hesitated, not sure whether to seek peace or continue the war, while Napoleon responded with a hurricane of activity. He summoned reinforcements to join him near Vienna, the Army of Italy under his stepson Eugène de Beauharnais, and 11th Corps under Marshal Marmont, who'd together driven Archduke John's Austrian army out of North Italy.
His stepson? Who's his wife for the stepson? Is it the one where... It's not Josephine, is it? Because he married... Didn't he marry Louise? Is it Louise's son? No, it can't be Louise's son. It's gotta be Josephine's son. Let me know.
As well as Marshal Bernadotte's Saxon 9th Corps. Napoleon's army grew from 90,000 to a massive 164,000 men and 544 guns to take on Charles's army of 128,000 and 414 guns. 6 weeks after his first attempt had ended in defeat, Napoleon ordered his army to cross the river once more. This time his engineers had built solid bridges across the Danube to ensure...
Yeah, we were used to those pontoon bridges that could just, you know, we saw them get destroyed so easily with just people, floating buoyant objects down the river. So this is a step up. I wonder how long it takes to build a bridge like this. I mean, you have the manpower, but I wonder how long comparatively, the pontoon bridges versus, it just shows another level of efficiency with Napoleonic warfare.
Ensure there was no repeat of the disasters of Aspern. For the French army, Napoleon declared, the Danube no longer exists. The stage was set for the largest battle yet seen in European history.
Yeah, also I'm gonna test my mic real quick. We're gonna make it a little bit louder. There we go. Sorry if it's been low.
If you think our Napoleon series has been consolidate just on the special video,
it's a good job. You're not any Tyler. Wow. Yeah.
On the evening of the 4th of July, in heavy rain, the French began crossing from the island of Lobau, not towards the devastated villages of Aspern and Essling, but east towards Groß-Enzersdorf, which was soon ablaze from French shells. Archduke Charles had left only a small advance guard to delay the French. By dawn, General Massena's 4th Corps and Oudinot's 2nd Corps were driving those troops back, winning space for the French army to deploy. At 1 p.m, Napoleon was ready to begin his advance across 6 miles of flat cornfields towards the main Austrian position, an escarpment known as the Wagram, 100 meters behind the Russbach stream.
Okay.
As General Lassalle's light cavalry and Massena's 4th Corps swung left to guard the flank, Oudinot's 2nd Corps and Davout's 3rd Corps advanced towards the Wagram.
Just when we look here, it's just such a vast battlefield. I wonder. I mean, he really didn't say how many square kilometers how many kilometers these lines are holding. You can just say that it's huge, given like how many towns that we're looking at right here. Really open. This is a different type of warfare. You know, there's going to be looking like it's going to be a lot of open battlefield versus what we've seen prior, where it's like we'll have rivers to the back, rivers to the front. Looks like really flat land.
Bernadotte's Saxon Corps and Eugene's Army of Italy filled the centre. At 6 p.m, unsure of the enemy's strength, Napoleon ordered a full-scale assault against the Wagram Plateau.
Wow.
But his troops met determined Austrian resistance along the line. By dusk, the Saxon 9th Corps had pushed into the village of Deutsch Wagram. The Saxon infantry wore white uniforms, like the Austrians, and as
that is going to be a problem. Friendly fire, right?
darkness fell, were mistaken for the enemy and fired on by friendly units. The Saxons panicked and fled with heavy losses.
As much as we like to give credit to Napoleon when it comes to what he can do on the battlefield, how he doesn't make mistakes, would you guys put this on Napoleon for just a tactical error here, given that he should know what the Austrians look like and what his units he's bringing into this army look like? Just saying, that's kind of a tactical error, I would say.
Napoleon's attempt at a quick breakthrough had failed. That night, both armies slept in the open, while Charles and Napoleon planned their next moves.
And Charles is on this side of the river. Wouldn't you guys say that's pretty vulnerable? I mean, he might have position, but definitely more vulnerable than the other side of the stream, I would say. Battle of Wagram.
On the second day, Napoleon planned for Davout's 3rd Corps to lead the attack, rolling up the Austrian flank, while his other corps pinned down the enemy with local attacks. But to the Emperor's fury, he learned that overnight, without orders, Marshal Bernadotte had withdrawn his battered Saxons from Aderklaa, which the Austrians now occupied.
Rookie mistake right there for Bernadotte.
Aderklaa was a crucial strongpoint in the centre of the battlefield. Napoleon gave orders for its immediate recapture, but the French and Saxon attack failed, with heavy losses.
Hey.
The Austrians had their own problems. Archduke Charles, knowing he faced a superior enemy, had decided his only chance of victory lay in an all-out dawn attack. He was relying on his brother, Archduke John, reaching him with 13,000 reinforcements, in time to support the attack on the left. But by dawn, there was still no sign of him. What's more, as 4th Corps began its assault on Grosshofen, on time, 3rd Corps, which had received its orders late, was still getting into position, holding up the entire Austrian right wing. Charles had to tell 4th Corps to abort its unsupported attack until the other corps were ready.
Here's your cards, though.
With the Austrians paralysed by delays, at 10 a.m, Davout began his attack.
Might as well.
A fierce infantry battle erupted in the village of Markgraf Neusiedl, while in the fields, dragoons and hussars fought a giant whirling cavalry battle, as each side tried to outflank the other. Davout's corps took the village, though they couldn't stop the Austrians withdrawing to a strong new position on the Wagram escarpment. Meanwhile, a serious threat had developed to Napoleon's left flank and rear, Klenau's 6th Corps had driven back the outnumbered French, with some units advancing as far as Essling, dangerously close to Napoleon's vital river crossings.
Yeah.
Napoleon urgently needed to reinforce his left flank, but he was also determined to hold back his reserves for a decisive attack. So he ordered Massena's 4th Corps to march across the battlefield and reinforce the left. A huge redeployment like this, right in front of the enemy, was high risk. So Marshal Bessieres was ordered to lead a cavalry attack straight against the enemy centre. Casualties were high. Even Marshal Bessieres had his horse killed under him, to the alarm of his men. But the enemy was kept busy.
A lot of marshals and generals just following in some of these battles, and lucky he wasn't another one of those casualties.
While 4th Corps completed its redeployment and forced Klenau's corps to fall back.
I guess he's a coward, huh? Any trooper who isn't dead by 30 is a coward, and I don't anticipate exceeding that length of time. He must have said that prior to being 30. So General LaSalle, that's a spoiler. He's gonna be killed at Wagram. Okay.
Napoleon now assembled a grand battery of more than 80 cannon in the centre of the battlefield. This was one of Napoleon's trademark tactics, the concentration of artillery to blast the enemy line and pave the way for a decisive French attack. The Grand Battery fired an estimated 15,000 rounds, setting light to the cornfields. Around 1 p.m, Napoleon ordered a general attack. As Davout continued to batter at the enemy flank, 4th Corps would advance on the left, 2nd Corps on the right, while in the centre, General MacDonald would lead forward 8,000 men of the Army of Italy, formed up in a giant three-sided square to secure his flanks.
Okay.
But despite the terrible French cannonade, Austrian 3rd Corps and Grenadiers of the Reserve met the French advance with torrential fire. MacDonald's giant square was cut to pieces, its men mowed down en masse by cannon fire, and the attack stalled. But the Austrian army, battered by relentless French attacks, was near breaking point. Every part of the line was under pressure from the French. Archduke Charles, determined above all to keep his army intact, ordered a retreat. The Austrian withdrawal was disciplined and well executed. Napoleon had his victory. But his army was also so shattered by fatigue and heavy losses, it was unable to launch any effective pursuit.
It's obvious that you were not at Wagram. Napoleon, to a minister, mocked the Austrian. So he's tipping his hat. Huh? He's tipping his hat to the Austrians here.
The Battle of Wagram was a brutal slugging match, the biggest and bloodiest battle yet seen in European history.
What?
French victory came at unprecedented cost. An estimated 37,500 casualties against 41,500 Austrian. 4 days later, French troops caught up with the retreating Austrians at Znaim. As the fighting escalated, Charles knew he could not withstand the French a second time and asked for a ceasefire. But he had not consulted his older brother, Emperor Francis, who was furious when he heard the news.
He didn't want a ceasefire.
Not least because long-awaited British support was finally on the way. 3 weeks after the Battle of Znaim, the largest amphibious force Britain had ever assembled, 35 ships of the line and 39,000 troops, landed at Walcheren Island on the Scheldt estuary. Its aim was to destroy French shipping and naval stores. But following the successful bombardment and capture of Vlissingen, British commanders let the initiative slip from their grasp. Their force was bottled up by French troops on the marshy Dutch coast, where it was decimated by fever and dysentery. About 4,000 died. Many more became permanent invalids.
What's an invalid? That basically saying you're incapacitated, you cannot fight?
The survivors were evacuated back to England in December. Emperor Francis, informed of the British debacle and persuaded by his generals that Austria couldn't fight on, made peace with Napoleon.
Again?
In October, Austria signed the Treaty of Schönbrunn, giving up territory to the French Empire, Bavaria, Saxony, the Duchy of Warsaw, and Russia.
Jeez, and Russia's still on good terms, I guess.
In total, the Austrian Empire was stripped of 3.5 million subjects, forced to pay an indemnity, limit its army to 150,000 men, and join Napoleon's continental system, which meant ending all trade with British ships and merchants.
Britain is once again on an island. That's ironic, isn't it? Because they actually are.
Archduke Charles, meanwhile, one of Napoleon's more skilled opponents, had fallen out so bitterly with his brother, Emperor Francis, that he never held active command again. Napoleon had won another crushing victory, but there were worrying signs for the French Emperor. His enemies were learning, while he would increasingly have to rely on young conscripts to fill the gaps left by veterans killed or wounded on campaign. Few could have guessed in 1809, but Napoleon had just fought his last victorious campaign.
Really? So that's it. That's it? That's his last victorious campaign? Now, there's a difference between campaign and battle, I assume, right? So, there may be a campaign in the future that has victorious battles, but the overall campaign may not be victorious. Okay. Wow, we are back on the horse, just like Napoleon in this image right here. Napoleon, we'll see what they got to do in the future, but they just secured another peace treaty with Austria. They pretty much put them almost in the Treaty of Versailles, how Germany was in 1918. It seems, with how the demands that it offers. Really interesting how we go from here, given the footnote at the end with no more victorious campaigns. The politics, Great Britain, what will Russia do? What will other coalition pieces do? What will Prussia do? So much to talk about in the future. And I appreciate you for being here with me. Now, we got to keep going, guys. So leave a video recommendation outside of this if you want to. Leave a comment how you feel about this so far. And guys, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and let's watch many more videos together. I'll see you in the next one, and have a great day.